Okay.
You know, I was very fortunate in one of the very first assignments I got was from National Geographic in 1980. And I shoot in a National Geographic style. I do a bit of everything, portraits, landscapes. I'm a documentary photographer. So always exposed to the highlights and let the shadows look after themselves. It's as we did with film.
And we took care of it in printing and processing.
And you know, with,
as long as we have
with
the
digital, we
information.
can draw it out now. But the danger with digital is, if you draw it out too much, you get a lot of noise in those dark areas.
Right.
It's tempting to say, oh, well, I'll just shoot it and I'll bring those shadow areas out. Particularly if you're shooting a room or something, an architectural shot, I'll bring all those shadows out in post, in Lightroom or whatever.
Yeah.
But you can get horrible noise.
Yeah, it's true.
Which you don't want. Which is, for those people that don't know what noise is, it's pixelation of different colours in those dark areas, which is like grain but less pleasant.
Not aesthetic the way grain was.
Yeah. This is another example of a shot, again in Trinidad and Cuba, of these mixed light sources. I love the blue of the sky that you get after the sun's gone down. This intense rich blue combined with floodlights on buildings and tungsten light, which is very warm and inviting. I just love the combination. The warmth, the yellow warmth, and the blue of the sky. It's a very narrow window when you're shooting like this. The window is 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You have to know what you want to shoot and do it quickly before it's gone, because the light will fade in no time. And if you have to get the right balance for exposure. If you're too early, the sky will be okay, but the buildings will be too bright. If you're too late, the sky will be too dark and the building's too bright. The timing is critical, and it's a very, very narrow window. But I love the effect. It's something I'm always looking for when I'm out shooting. The other light source, of course, is flash, and I very, very rarely use that.
Any particular tips as far as using a flash, besides don't, if you don't have to?
I don't like the quality of light that the small flashes give generally. It's a point source of light. Even if you put a little diffuser on it, it's still really a point source of light, which to me is an ugly light. So I avoid using flashes as much as possible. Occasionally I use one to just put a catch light in eyes, which I learned originally from Franz Lanting,
Is that right?
wildlife photographer. Franz uses a flash to put catch lights in the eyes of animals. And I started doing it with people. And it works without it casting any real light on the person.
Yeah.
It just brings the eyes out. And I use it for that occasionally, but that's about all. I'm just not comfortable with it. It's not my style of shooting, but I carry it just in case. And I do use it occasionally, but not often.
It's in your toolkit if you need it.
I always have one with me. I think to carry on with the flash topic, the beauty of modern cameras is that you can almost shoot anything in any lighting conditions without flash. You still have to look at light. This photograph I shot in a dark street in Trinidad. You couldn't really see clearly with your eye, but I got a handheld shot of a portrait of this tattooed guy, and it works. I wanted that moody, dark feel, but it would not have been possible to capture that on film.
Right.
Maybe if I'd pushed high-speed Ektachrome up to 1000 ISO, maybe it would have been very grainy and unusable. This is a really nice, tight grain photograph, shot handheld. I was probably shooting at a 30th of a second.
What do you think the ISO was on that, roughly?
I always try to keep ISOs as low as possible.
Sure.
Ideally, I won't shoot over 400 ISO. In this case, I probably went up to 3200.
Okay.
32
Held
probably.
up nicely.
And it holds up by shooting wide, as you can tell from the depth of field. The background's soft because of the differential focus, but it worked. Flash would have destroyed this.
Right.
It would have completely destroyed the feel I wanted. So, hence I don't use flash very often.
So you have an example of an internally lit shot?
This photograph of a bunch of monks before dawn sitting around a fire
That's
It
amazing.
is a classic example of internal light. All the light is from within the frame.
Right.
It's all from the fire. I wanted just to show that I love the hands, the graphics of the hands in this photograph. And it's also a benefit of the new digital cameras, because this was taken in very, very low light. It's literally the light from that little flame from the fire.
Yeah.
So I was able to push the ISO up and get a usable photograph. But the key to the photograph is all internal light. There's no external light source there.
That's amazing.
And I use that quite a lot. I like the effect of the dark corners. It frames the image nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously you have to get the subject that works, but for me this is one of my most satisfying photographs at this particular monastery. Yeah, I just love the hands. And coming back to talking about people photography isn't about just faces. You know, this is as much a portrait as a photograph of the
Sure.
faces, and I love this kind of thing. As with a photograph going back to the ballet dancers in Cuba, just a detail of a pair of feet with ballet shoes on them. Your portraits are not always about the face.
Right.
You know, I always look at everything I shoot, I look at it as broadly as possible. And for example, the ballet shoes of a young ballet dancer in Cuba almost said more than a portrait of her. And to me, it makes a very satisfying photograph. Just like the hands in
The hands
the hands around the fire. So think of portraits in the broadest sense. Always look at every angle you can. Think, shoot intelligently. Don't just shoot blindly and shoot something quickly and move on. Work a subject.
Brilliant. So summarizing, are there any particular points you'd like to leave our audience with in terms of lighting?
Learn to look at light, learn how your camera reacts to it. That's the most important thing. I guess the most important thing is to learn how your camera will record the light. And practice, practice, practice. You know, photography needs practice as much as learning to play a musical instrument needs practice. People think they can pick a camera up and it's going to take good photographs.
Right.
It will, probably at 1% of the time. But the other 99%, you have to be in control. Everybody can take a phenomenal photograph by luck with modern cameras. It's not difficult. Give a camera to a chimpanzee and it will take a good photograph if it shoots enough. But to do it consistently in whatever mood you're in, you have to practice and know how everything works. So keep practicing. Yeah, I've been practicing for 40 years and I still haven't got it down.
You hear that, you guys?
Takes a long time.
Takes a long time. Keep practicing. Bob, thanks again.
Good to see you.
Love hearing your tips and
Thanks, Marc.
look forward to some more. Well, actually, it doesn't. Yeah, okay. So I want to thank you guys for. Are we rolling?
Yeah, we're rolling. I've been rolling.
Let's do it again. Does that mean we're rolling? Okay. I want to thank you guys for watching, and be sure to subscribe. We want you to like if you like our video, of course. You can comment down here, and also please share these with other people, because we want to bring Bob Holmes to as many photographers as we can. And if you would, support us with Patreon. We're funding this whole series ourselves, so your contributions will really help us bring more great content to you guys. And Bob, you have a workshop you'd like to mention.
I've been running international workshops for several years, and you can find information at Lumaria, LUMARIA workshops.com. And also, I'm a regular poster on Instagram and give regular photography tips, and my Instagram address is Bob Holmes Photo. So hopefully I'll meet you there too. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you, guys.